meeting, I can't see what time it is. Time you got?
5 o'clock.
Make a motion to open the Water and Sewer Board meeting at 5 o'clock.
All right, so we have West Newbury here. They're looking to talk about our existing emergency connection between Groveland and West Newbury. They have a bit of a situation upcoming that they'd like to try to get this ironed out for. I guess I'll let them talk about it.
Hopefully everybody can hear me. It's gonna get better soon. Oh, boy. I'm Mike Goutet, Water Superintendent, West Newbury. Larry Cochran, Bob Janes, 2 Water Commissioners, and we may have somebody else coming, Jack Duggan. We have a situation where the interior, the new water tank that was built about a year ago, a little bit more than that, is having some failures in the seams, basically. And the tank needs to be drained, heated, dried, and it'd take about 2 weeks to do the work. So tonight, and the water commissioners can probably, tell you differently, but I think that my feeling is we'd like to understand how we could possibly get water from you, first of all, because I have documentation I'll give you. I do have the intermunicipal agreement that you were talking about from 1936, but in 2001 and through 2004, we talked to the water commissioners quite a bit here, and we drafted up agreements both to give water both ways. So we're trying to just see how we could possibly get water from you for 2 weeks. There are probably some different ways of doing it. We have a booster station that feeds from the Page School back, but from the Page School to here is all on the Break Hill tank, which is on this end of town.
Mm-hmm.
Been thinking about it, not sure how we do it. I think before with some of the discussions in the papers that I'm going to give you, both sources could have maybe pumped together, but when I remember when we did this, the reason that we didn't give the water is because the booster station out front was built. So that took care of Nichols Village, and that was the elevation issue. And I'm not sure what your elevation is on the tank, but we have the pressure gauges in the Groveland station, and they're almost identical. And I'm wondering if the new water tank was built to the same elevation as the old one, which we're at 300 feet.
So the tank on Wood Street, we operate between 313 feet and 302 feet,
Okay.
with the overflow at 315 feet.
Okay.
It's a little bit higher than the tank, our old tank on King Street.
Okay.
And we're running that when the booster pit's pumping. It's about 120 PSI to get it up to this elevation to fill it. Not sure how that meshes with what you have going on, but
Yeah, it's usually running around 118 PSI at the station.
mhm.
So if that was to happen, though, we just have to think about this. I would suggest we go over the paperwork, see what was written before, think about it, and hopefully get back and talk again to see what we can do. Because I was thinking that we both could be pumping at the same time if that could happen.
Mhm.
But then, and some of that is in this documentation, and intermingle, the water as long as the water qualities will be all right. I know we keep a much higher chlorine residual at the Newburyport end, but by the time it gets here, we're just trying to maintain 0.2.
Mhm.
But believe it or not, this year we're at 2 to keep 0.2 there, so.
Okay. Yeah, I had briefly talked to our engineer about how it would work and if he had been involved in the original talks back in the day. Unfortunately, he was not, but he did remember. So we have a 12-inch main that goes down Main Street towards West Newbury,
Yeah.
but we believe that it chokes down to like 6 at the town line. So that might be an issue. I don't know what your main is in West Newbury.
It's 8 in the station there, up to about where the curve is, past the ice cream shop. It goes back down to 6-inch actually right there for us too.
Okay.
It goes from 8 to 6 to 10. So 1936, I don't know why. I don't think they ever had that go around the bend until later on, after the ice cream shop, or I should say Nick's.
Okay. So he basically was curious, like a duration for how long you thought it would be, what you maybe thought the demand would be.
Yeah.
And then he suggested maybe doing some flow tests on both sides.
Yeah.
And see if it'll work out.
You saw, I don't know if you know it, but we did flow tests, which I think you saw, probably back then. So that was 2004, so it was quite a while ago. It might not even have been that long ago, but I think we're getting about 500 gallons a minute. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look at that.
Okay.
Another thing, too, is if they only need to spot areas, they might be able to heat those spots instead of heating the whole tank. And, we might be able to get done a little bit quicker. I'm not sure.
What's the timeline for this? Like,
They think 2 weeks.
or like in the middle of the winter?
Oh, no,
or
that's what I'm saying. That's what we'd have to really work out. It's best, whatever's best for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because the lowest demand, we have another situation where the pipe stave tank on the other end was supposed to be rehabbed this last spring. Then the drought came, and then Newburyport couldn't feed us. So it's being pushed off to March of next year to start, the end of March. So we're thinking, if it's going to be this year, maybe January, some of the time that demands for both sides. And then you don't have to be forcing water so much either. You're not really trying to jam those tanks up. You might be able to run at a lower level for us, but that really won't matter if we're only on your tank, right?
Yeah.
It's whatever that elevation is. If you could keep it lower, pressure-wise, because that might be a little bit, but both of them at that station down there are identical. You're a little higher, but it's not bad.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can probably take a look at it and figure out something.
We did this with DEP. I contacted them back in 2004. They didn't have an issue with it, but it's a matter as if we felt we had an issue with it. We don't have a manganese issue. We have manganese, but not an issue. PFAS is low, but it's only a 2-week thing. We hope.
Okay.
So I'm thinking that if you read through some of this stuff, there was an agreement that we did try to do, but we just never followed up on it either way because the booster station went into effect.
The need went away, so the conversation
So
stopped.
the conversation stopped, but we're also trying to look at long-term too. Where we're going to go. We're going to take water from Newburyport, what you might have, who knows, but for the future of water, it's pretty important to know where it's coming from.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know any of the background of this. Are we giving them water? Are we loaning them water? What are we doing?
So I guess that would be up for.
That's all in this paperwork. That's why I feel if you read all the articles from 2001 to 2004 that I got together for you, there's only one copy, I'm sorry, but you can do it now. You'd really understand what we were doing before. At one point there was nothing. We were mixing water. We didn't care. Both sides didn't care, and it's an exchange. If we were pumping and you were pumping at the same time, we're both equally kind of flowing the water at the same rate. You might be able to have the shut-off on the tank at the same time, or whatever time. It's not going to matter anyway. And then there's other ones where, they wanted 20% off for long-term, and they got into that. truthfully, right now, I'd like to take one step at a time and get through 2 weeks and get that thing fixed, and then over time, we maybe talk more about, or the water commissioners talk more about that. Right now, though, it's more and what you feel is fair, and we're just asking to, try to help us out during that 2 weeks, hopefully only 2 weeks.
Has this ever been done yet? Have we ever had to do what you're asking to do as far as, pumping together and what have you? Has that ever been done?
No.
So my question would be, and the only thing I'd be worried about is that if it's never been done and we have old pipes, I don't know, I'm new on the board, would it jam the pipes, break the pipes? Is there any way could we have any damage on both sides, your side and our side, by, intermingling back and forth? That would be my question.
Yeah, so our infrastructure on that side of town is all relatively new.
Okay?
So, knock on wood, it probably wouldn't be our stuff that would be falling apart.
It would be our stuff, 1936,
Wow.
but that would be our issue.
Yeah.
And that is, we're actually, finally, we have a new chemical building. We have a new tank. We're rehabbing the pipe stave tank, which is a great tank, but it's a wire wound, concrete tank, and it needs a lot of work. And then basically what we're going for right now, especially with the infrastructure bill, we're hoping for money like everybody else. And that's all we have on the plate now for capital improvements for many years. We're starting with Church Street and Prospect Street that have 6-inch lines right on the river that are tuberculated right up. But I think that even if we had to valve it down from you, unless that became a problem with pumps, we'd really have to look at that. But gravity feeding, I think that it would be most likely us that would have the failure.
Yeah, all our stuff is, over there at least, is a 20-year-old 12-inch ductile. So-
Right. And that's when we added into our booster station. The same time that they were adding here, we ran new 8-inch into our booster station and back out and connected to 8-inch. So the booster station's new. We have gauges in our station and valves in our station to supply back and forth. That's why
Yeah,
we did that.
So what happens if there's failure on your end? There's water pouring out all over the place?
Well, if there's water pouring out all over the
Shut
place,
it down? What do you?
yeah, it's shut down, and it'll be an emergency. Fire department needs to know that, all the proper procedures for emergency. No water for the next 6 hours or better, and get them out there to fix it. Right. Be ready for all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you say, you were talking about manganese, and right now, I guess we're blending from 2 different wells because we're close to the threshold. How is that gonna impact if we're all of a sudden pumping a lot more of our water?
So I think that's doing it in the winter, which is when we pump less water, it would,
We wouldn't have to rely as much on the.
yeah, so if,
How's your compliance with the manganese?
We're good.
You're good.
Yeah.
So you could accept slightly higher
Yeah.
amounts if.
And
there's
it's
some-
only, again, I'm sorry, it's only going to be a matter of a couple weeks. I don't, see that really changing
How often do
anything.
we test?
for manganese, we
Yeah.
tend to launch a quarter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, once a quarter, same with us. Once a quarter, we have to do the same thing.
Yep.
So yeah, I think probably as a good first step, if we get, we'll make copies of that.
Yeah.
So that everyone can kind of review it, and then,
Yeah, just to understand where we have been in the past and where maybe we could go. And even beyond this emergency for us, it'd be great for both towns and including other ones that are connected to you.
yeah, we already have a plan in place with Georgetown, so
Yeah.
we should have one in place with West Newbury long-term.
Yeah, and that's in here, what we kind of came up with, and I think it's just a
So
matter.
you guys know how many gallons a day roughly you pump, and you obviously know what we pump.
Yeah, so in the winter, like I said, our demand goes down, so we have the extra capacity to supply it to them and not put ourselves in a bad position.
And again, we can pump also to lower that demand on you if we mixed. And we both are pumping, let's say,
You're just not storing.
it's just the storage, right? If Colin wanted to do 150 gallons a minute, that was good enough, and we did 150 gallons a minute with, whatever. Blending it that way, I was just been thinking about that, I'm not sure that would work, but I think it would.
You're providing part of the volume and we're providing the
Correct.
pressure then.
And
Correct.
basically, all you're doing is using our storage tank.
Exactly.
Basically, if you're putting the same in, we're putting the same in.
Yep.
And all we're doing is using the storage tank, you're
Yep.
drawing out of it, you're putting in just as quick as we are.
True, but when it's shut off, we don't know if it's feeding West Newbury or Groveland, but
Right.
it's minimal.
Right.
I think,
2 weeks, and we're not talking millions of gallons.
Oh, no,
You know,
you guys have a pretty small customer base to begin
yeah,
with.
we probably, around that time, unless it can be sooner, but, winter's coming up quick. I mean, if it could be done in November, December, and you thought so, then we would make it work. But,
Still not filling swimming pools.
yeah, no, we need a little help right now, we both do. But I can show you the demand, but right now, wow, drastically just dropped off in the past 2 weeks, so that's good. We only used 130,000 gallons Saturday, that was like a miracle. But probably 150,000 gallons a day at the max. I'm guessing at that right now, I can get real numbers for you.
Yeah, I think,
And if we supplied half of that, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But I don't know if that would work for you filling your tank too. We'd have to look
we'll
at
have to
that.
look into that, yeah.
You might have to go at a higher rate, and that means more would be pushing back in West Newbury, but we're still helping. Because our booster station can pump from the well field and get that to you. About 140 gallons a minute, but that'll at least help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
offsets it a little bit, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then money-wise, you have to look at that and everything, and I think in this document here, I think water was about 250 per thousand or whatever. So we're at 1443, so per thousand gallons. So I don't think anybody can keep up with us there, but that's because of the small base, and we have to purchase a large portion of our water since
From
we don't have
Newburyport,
reservoirs anymore.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, well,
You guys want to say anything? Yeah. I did announce you. That said you'll probably be coming in. It's Jack Duggan. Yeah.
Okay.
And the next time we'll get everybody's name, but yeah. I don't know.
if you guys have any further questions, we can,
Actually, let me just give you this stuff too. Do you know?
I think we have to read the paperwork.
Yeah.
See what's got to say.
Yeah, it's interesting. Over the years, I even forget my brain's going there. So it's.
are these your only copies, or can we have this?
No, those are yours.
Okay.
And I made copies today. I gave them the intermunicipal agreement from 1936. And some of the documentation's in 2001 to 2004 when we worked with the water commissioners back then.
Okay.
So
If we didn't, let's just say, if we didn't help you, what do you guys do?
if we didn't help you, then we go to option B. My suggestion would to be put blow-offs on our hydrants down near the river and
To run it.
take care of the pressure. But you just be blowing off the water and dechlorinating that into the river. That's our second option, which can be done. Set that at 100 pounds pressure and let it flow. And the pumps would just be continuously going. There'll be a big icicle out there because it'll definitely be done in the winter when we don't need the water.
No, but it might be neighborly for us to take a good look at it, because we never know, we may have to call on you guys someday and you have to help us out. So, I mean,
Absolutely.
it's
Actually,
definitely neighborly.
that's how it happened then.
Right.
Because they asked us to give you water while you were building your tank. And we
Right.
have that agreement in there, just never got to get agreed upon. Never came back after they built the booster station.
All right, yeah, well, so we'll get copies of this made for everyone to read.
Yeah.
And, me and you can talk during the week, and,
Yeah. Like to get back together. How often do you meet?
typically it's once a month.
Yeah.
but-
And you're going to need some time to really look that stuff over and really think about it. So, and if next month's not good enough, then maybe, do you ever set times like this with a meeting with us at different times with people, or?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we're,
I mean, if it's an emergency, it's an emergency. I'm willing to,
Yeah.
I'm easy. If it's an emergency,
Yeah.
we have to meet sooner,
Yeah, I mean, it's, the emergency is the tank company saying, hey, we'll take care of it if you get it dry,
Yeah.
emptied.
But even you guys probably don't want to do it in January. It's cold, and what's the
It's
end product
cold.
for you?
It's called, we wouldn't care,
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not the one in there with a paintbrush.
right? It's just that they said if you get in a real cold weather, then they might have to heat the whole thing and whatever.
It becomes more of a process for
Yeah,
them to do it.
and of course, we won't get into it, but, you know, who's paying who and stuff, and it's part of the project. So, once we
Yeah.
sign off on it, it's our problem, and
Right.
we want to make sure that that little bit needs to be patched up a little.
Right.
And
Yeah, I
we'd
think,
appreciate some help if you can, and
Yeah, once
of
we're
course,
out
we're
of,
the same way. We've always had, saying to Colin, we've always had a handshake, even back with Glenn and stuff, and even with those commissioners then, that something drastic happens, and we can help, we're going to help. So,
yeah, it's the right way
I'm
to
sure
do
we
it.
all feel the same. We just
But,
kind of have to work out the details.
Yeah, I'm sure we can get it figured out.
Yeah.
We'll,
And I'll go back to the tank company and our engineers and make sure that it's a 2-week period, you know, if it's going to be longer or shorter or whatever.
Okay,
You know, that way we really know.
all right. Yeah, we'll review it all and then,
Can you, I think in the winter, you would be able to drop your level 3-4 feet, right, and run no problem? Yeah, good. That
Yeah.
way, we'd
especially
maybe,
in the winter, that tank really only fills every 24 hours. Like, it'll run 24 hours, and then the pumps will kick back on.
oh, wow, yeah.
That side of town, the demand is low in the winter, so.
Yeah,
So, yeah, we can definitely mess with tank heights and
Yeah.
durations and,
so, I don't know, maybe next month at the next meeting, if you feel you're feeling good about it, if you'd give us a holler and we'll try to get back over here. Yeah,
yeah. We'll,
appreciate your time.
once we have set a date for the meeting, I'll reach out to yourself or whoever's there.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody will get the message. Yeah,
But yeah, I'm sure we can get it
all
figured
right.
out.
Well, nice meeting you all.
Nice
Thank you
meeting
very
you.
much.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Siri can always help.
All right. So that was the first thing. So yeah, just with that, I'll talk to our engineer. Like I said, I briefly talked to him. And I'll talk to DEP to make sure DEP doesn't have any problems with us mixing our water.
Now, is there any way to adjust the source so we can give them some of our manganese? I mean, seriously, but if they're not under constraints. and
No,
we can-
all of ours pump together.
It all goes together?
Yeah.
Okay, so before it gets to the point,
Yeah, as soon as the wells go on, it all goes into the same piping, so
all
there's,
right.
Do you have a feeling they'll use more water than we, or you think it'll be pretty?
they have a very small customer base.
Okay.
So I'll do that, and then. Yeah, it's kind of uncommon or surprising that we don't already have an agreement with them. Our pipes are already connected. We used to sell them water back in like the 50s and 60s. We were buying it from Haverhill and then pumping it to West Newbury and selling it to them.
Excellent.
But, yeah, I think it's, like Bill said, it's a neighborly thing to do and just get it figured out so that no one's being negatively affected by it. And so the next thing on the agenda is the sewer extension project that's happening for the apartment complex on Salem Street.
Sewell, Salem?
Yep, Sewell, Salem, Nelson, over there.
That whole thing.
So that is going to be starting construction in December, tentatively. So the contractor had previously met with this board numerous times, and everyone had talked about waiving the sewer system development fees because he is paying, he's paying for the system, the sewer main to go in, and then giving it to us. So the board had tentatively talked about waiving the system development fee aspect of it, which would help him, in turn pay to do the improvements.
In lieu of thing.
So there is a separate fee that's mandated by the DEP that we cannot waive. And it's all based around the fact that we pump sewer to Haverhill, and Haverhill has the ability to dump sewage into the river. So any project that creates an above 15,000 gallons a day of usage triggers this regulation. So
What's the anticipated?
So the anticipated usage is 35,000 gallons a day. So DEP mandates that this project covers at a 4-to-1 ratio I&I work, which is infiltration and inflow. So similar to what we just did with the smoke testing, trying to find leaks and cracks in the pipes. So we have to come up with a fee, a per gallon fee that the contractor will have to pay us, and then we use that money for I&I work.
How much is the I&I work?
So it varies. DEP doesn't set an amount. It's up to the board to decide an amount. I asked DEP what they typically see for numbers, and they said they see anywhere between $1 per gallon and $20 a gallon, depending on where you live, how much I&I you have. So I don't know what you got. We've never run into this in Groveland before, so it's never been assessed.
Who's gonna, when that pipe goes, it's sore, you said, right?
Yep.
Is anyone from that development to where it gets hooked in, is anyone gonna be able to tie into that? Any of the
yeah.
neighbors?
Oh, yeah, that,
Who, are they gonna have to pay the money themselves to hook into that?
so.
Stubs all along the way.
Yeah, he's gonna leave stubs at every property line, and then if you lived along that way, the homeowner has to pay a contractor to connect.
Come in. So in the process of this, I wasn't involved in it, in the process, is there any way you can add on to this pipeline, like going the other
Oh,
way
yeah.
in South,
Yep.
out to South Groveland?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, so,
they built in a lot of overcapacity, so, and the dream is to
Get
hook up
out to South Groveland,
everybody.
right,
Yeah,
right.
so.
But I know at one point, when, a long time ago, he had been before
mhm.
us, the board, and then it was talked about going out the entrance to Strawberry Fields. They thought that if it went out there, they could tee it both directions.
Mhm.
That direction would be later on, so I don't even know how it ended up, what route they're going. Maybe it's close, but.
Yeah, so it's gonna come through where the old plastics company was.
Yep,
That's where it's coming out onto Center Street.
so it's pretty close.
Yeah. So it is deep enough to extend it further. It's a huge win for that neighborhood that it's going through.
Yeah, right.
And the pipes are built to.
Yeah,
for
so
like
it's built big enough
100% extra, right?
for extra capacity,
Yeah.
yeah.
We're
So,
not gonna decide $1 to $20 a gallon fee today, are we?
no, but it needs to be decided eventually.
Yep, okay.
Um,
How do we go about doing a survey?
Yep, so I've started pulling together a few,
Because we don't wanna overburden them.
right,
But we don't wanna get stuck with a bill.
yeah. So I'll pull together what some communities around us have as their rates. But I think it would be reasonable, like the board previously had talked about, waiving the actual system development fee
Yeah.
because of the infrastructure that he is installing.
Well, if the state's telling us what we have to do.
Yeah,
then
this one we can't waive,
We
so
don't
we,
really have a
right.
lot of, yeah. I could check with, maybe North Andover, because they're putting in quite a few big projects near that
Mhm.
old Lucent, facility where the Amazon warehouse is going. And I guess maybe Haverhill, because you want, asking West Newbury what they charge.
Yeah.
It's not comparable. You gotta have something where there's a comparable project, and the closest is, I would say, North Andover and Haverhill, and maybe even like Topsfield.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I'll reach out to neighboring comparable.
Yeah, yeah,
See.
because this project's not typical to the demographic of our
Mhm.
area communities. I mean, you just don't see something like this in Merrimack or West Newbury. So-
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely put that together.
And they're doing a lot of building right now, North Andover, right by the airport. Have you seen that thing
Yep.
going in there?
Yeah.
Oh, so that should be pretty fresh on their minds.
Okay. Would you guys be comfortable voting to waive the system development fees
Oh, I would like to make a motion that we waive the system development fees
for for sewer only?
for sewer only.
I will second it. Second the motion.
Discussion?
What kind of money does that represent?
So the way the system development fees work, again, Groveland's 99% residential, so anything above a residential, it's all based on the size of the water service that feeds the building, and a percentage of that gets multiplied out. So without knowing what size pipe would be going into his building, it's hard to guesstimate, but you're probably looking for his whole complex in the $200,000 range. So that's for sewer, and then on the water side, there's also a water system development fee, which is a little bit more. I would have a hard time going along with waiving the water system development fee, just because, taxing our water system even more than it already is, and not,
Sewer's just pretty much a pass-on once the
Yes.
infrastructure
I
is
think
done.
I agree with what you're saying, the sewer side of it, it's a gain to us.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's a gain, so
Yeah.
waive it, you know what I mean? And then the water side, I'd have a problem too, because we're taxing a taxed system already.
right.
Yeah, it's,
So
it's,
we need to get some money to improve that anyway.
there's a certain amount of gain, but there's also,
Right.
there's more downside.
Right.
And for the sewer, there's very little downside.
Right. So,
The only downside is opening up potential development in places where you couldn't do it, and that's a strain on the natural resources. But
Mhm.
that's not a water and sewer concern. That's my
Right.
that's my.
that's your other hat. But yeah, I think,
So yeah, sewer only. Yeah.
Okay.
All in favor?
All in
All in-
favor, say aye.
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 okay.
Unanimous?
All right, yeah, and I'll work on pulling all the comparable fees together so we can take a vote on that for the next one. So the next item is our new dump truck finally showed up that we ordered a year and a half ago. So that finally showed up, so now we have a few trucks that we need you guys to vote to surplus so that we can put them out to bid, get rid of them.
What'd you get for a truck?
We got a 2002 Chevy 1-ton dump truck with like the L-Pack toolbox in the middle of it,
Yep.
with a plow and a sander because we plow and sand all our own stuff, so.
Are you gonna surplus it through the municipal page?
Through Municipid?
Yeah.
Yeah, the highway might be interested in one of them, but then the other two we'll put on Municipid.
And you can't, if the highway said they want it, you have to automatically give it to them, I believe, right?
Yeah. So, they're honestly not worth much. One of them, actually two of them, the utility truck came from the light department, so it was used when we got it, and the dump truck came from the highway department. It was used. It was pretty beat when we got it to begin with. So they're well past their useful lifespan. But if we can get a couple bucks from on Municibid, then we will. So if I could
Just
get,
two vehicles?
it's
Or three?
a utility truck, a dump truck, and a utility van.
I'll make a motion to surplus the equipment.
Second. discussion?
As long as it's on, you know, it goes out on municipal bid, that's all I care.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right? Beautiful.
Move to approve the July 25th, 2022 Water Sewer Commissioners Meeting minutes.
I read them. Good.
Want to second it?
Yeah. I'll
Second it.
Second it.
Third it. All in favor?
Discussion? All in favor, aye.
We have another release of sewer lien for all three of you to sign. It was one that you previously signed, but they needed to have the trustees' names listed on it.
Well, there you go. Are you a notary?
No.
And then we have Collins payroll. Just one of you needs to sign it. Yes, on that line there.
Supervisor.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You are welcome. You guys don't want to sign these, do you?
Let you have all the fun.
I'm the one that's gonna end up in jail.
No, I've already been paid.
Once Colin's evil plots have been revealed to the world. Well, look at all these. Oh, we've been 2 months, haven't we?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, and then just a couple things that have kind of recently come up. We got an earmark from the government for like $15,000 for, to go towards our exploration for new water, whether that be a well or the treatment plant. We had requested $250,000, and we got 15, so it's not nothing, but it's, so we'll be.
From the state or
Yes,
feds?
the state. So we have that to kind of add into the pool of stuff that we're gonna be doing.
What's it cost to pump from a new well to like a water tower per
Per foot of pipe.
foot? Let's go for per foot for all, but it would start to finish, the whole,
So I think the pipe itself, the last project we did was about $1 million a mile for pipe
Installed or just the pipe?
installed.
and we, okay, because I know we were talking, or maybe I brought up, looking for water over by the Georgetown border, and you said that's quite a ways away. But compared to $20 million for a plant that removes manganese, filtration plant,
Mm-hmm.
it could be a couple miles away and still a tenth of the cost.
Yeah, so I think part of that, and I'll get this for you, but we had a whole, like hydraulic study done.
Okay, that's the missing
Yeah,
piece
so
of
I'll definitely
information.
get you that. So
If
we,
it's no good, it's no good.
yeah, they looked at all the potential sites in town, and the ones that we already drilled were the most optimal.
Okay, yeah, because I was just wondering if there were places that we didn't even consider because you were thinking about $1 million a mile, but all of a sudden $1 million a mile seems.
Yeah, it seems like chump change.
Like much less money than
Yeah.
20 million.
But no, I'll get you a copy of that.
Is there any more talk about that, or on the filtration building, or any more?
So recently, I've been working with Rebecca, the town administrator. The facility that the state was running the Superfund site out of. So where the state was pulling water out of the ground, cleaning it, and pumping it back in.
Behind St. Pat's Church.
Yes. The government just turned that building back over to the church. So there's a potential that the church will sell it to us.
Okay.
But didn't they strip all the equipment out of that?
Yeah, so the equipment that they were using in there wouldn't
Wouldn't
be
work.
applicable for what we're
Right.
doing anyway.
Right,
But the building itself could be.
okay.
So,
And you've got connections to the aquifer, right? Or,
yeah, so, you know,
So
we're
who's-
basically spitballing here at this point, but out of that $20 million budget, $1.5 million of it was for a building,
oh,
and $1.6 million of it was for like the heat, the electrical. So you're looking at 3.1 potentially coming off of that 20.
which is something.
It's not nothing.
Any grants?
So we're looking into avenues of funding. You know, trying to get money from the state and from the feds is possible. Right now, we're hoping to see what they're going to want for the building. It's landlocked. There's no frontage.
Yeah, I was with the DEP and the EPA
Mhm.
when I was working to clean up that Valley School building. And it was almost a giveaway at that point, but you had to go to the church.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the church, at that point in time, said, talk to us, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So we're in the works of that.
At that time, the church needed money bad, too.
So that it's an option. And even at the bare minimum, I mean, if we could get a 120 by 60-foot garage for pretty cheap, keep our backhoe in it, keep all of our supplies in it, or worst case scenario. But it's definitely something I think worth looking into, pending what the cost is and what the benefits that we could have from it.
It's certainly not the $3 million savings, right? Because you have to do a lot to make it what we would need.
Yeah, there would be changes that would have to happen to it, but if just the structure alone is $1.5 million,
But that structure could just, it's not turnkey, I guess is what I'm saying, right?
I mean, the structure itself is, yes,
Shell.
the shell.
The inside would
also
have to
not
be
free.
fit for the filtration, though.
Right, it all depends on what the selling cost would be of it.
Probably wouldn't be 1.5 million. but
Right.
Probably wouldn't be 10,000.
Probably, well, we'll wait and see what happens,
Yeah.
but,
And that building's closer to tie into the wells than over here at the Pines, do you think? Is
it's
it gonna be a
closer
less run?
to well one,
Right,
yeah,
right.
which is the better well than the one that's down here. So we're still looking, exploring options and seeing what's out there. Other than that, bill should be going out soon. I don't know, have you got anything?
Nope. Bills will be going out Thursday.
Yikes.
So, I don't know.
Should be low, right? Because nobody used any water.
You would think.
Yeah. All I know is my lawn made a crunchy sound for quite a while. But I had to mow. I had to mow this weekend.
Yeah.
It's all green
It
again.
came back quick, all of them.
Came back pretty quickly.
Yeah, even out front here, it's green again.
Getting there.
It wasn't
But-
as dry as mine was.
But, yeah, now if no one else has any questions.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
5:44.
At 5:44. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh. damn it. The Haverhill.
Oh, yeah.
For capital.
So,
Can you get them to come next meeting?
yes,
Okay, then that's all I wanted to say.
okay.
So, off the record.
Yep. Yeah, I reached out to them, seeing if they were amenable to that, and they said absolutely, so.
Okay.
Do you guys want to set a date for for the next meeting, even if it's just a
Yeah, it's a
random?
lot easier in advance.
Okay.
So the 12th, no, wait, the 10th is a Monday, 17th is a Monday, or 24th of October?
Sounds great. Does that work for everybody?
For now, we'll see.
Yeah, and if something happens, you can call or email us.
Yep. All right,
5
everybody.
PM?
All right?
5
If
p.m.
you have a few minutes, I can make copies, or I can make copies and they'll be at
You wanna
town hall.
scan it and-
Yeah, I can email it over to
Yeah, I'll just
everyone.
scan it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
okay.
Shoot it.
Thanks for
Will
coming,
do.
guys.